My own mother once told me she believed children were evil, so when I got pregnant, she took it as a personal betrayal. What followed was beyond anything I could have imagined. She tried to terminate my pregnancy without my consent, broke into our house, lied to CPS and my job's HR department, and when none of that worked, she stalked me across state lines. It took everything in me, but eventually we escaped. And that escape? It saved our lives. My mom hates kids more than anyone I've ever met. When I was little, she basically ignored me. A babysitter raised me until I was 14. I'd always ask her why she even had me if she didn't like kids, and she'd just say I was a mistake. I've always been the opposite of her. I've dreamed of having a big, loving family. But whenever I told her she'd make a great grandma one day, she'd shut it down instantly. She'd say kids were a waste of time, and that time would be better spent taking care of her. I remember feeling crushed, but deep down I knew her view wasn't right. I could live a different life. My own life. Fast forward to now, I'm 28 and pregnant. My belly was huge, and I knew it was finally time to tell her. I figured the family reunion would be the best place. My husband is someone my whole family, yes, even my mom, has always liked. She once even joked that if I ever had kids, it should be with him. So when we knocked on her door, I was actually smiling. She opened it, looked at me, and her eyes immediately filled with tears. "Please tell me you just got fat," she said. "I'm pregnant, Mom." Her fists clenched, and for a moment I thought my husband would have to step in. "How could you do this to me after everything?" she snapped. But I didn't yell or cry. I just did what the pregnancy hormones told me to do. I tried to hug her. I guess part of me still wanted her support. But instead of hugging me back, or even just standing there, she shoved me away by my stomach hard. Hard enough that it nearly hurt the baby. My husband rushed to hold me, clearly ready to defend me, but I gave him a look that said, "It's not worth it." As we walked away, my phone started buzzing. It was my mom, spamming me with links to abortion clinics, their hours, and even offering money to go through with it. I broke down crying. My husband pulled me into a hug and told me any child would be lucky to have you as their mom. I asked him if we could do the thing. He took my hand and said, "Yes." See, lately I've been talking out loud to myself a lot. It's how I imagine talking to my future daughter. It's been helping me cope with all the emotions. And about 5 minutes into one of those talks, I realized my mom is absolutely insane. I would never force my daughter to end our family line. I wouldn't call her unstable in front of her boyfriends. I wouldn't congratulate her on a miscarriage. I wouldn't push her to start smoking young to make her infertile. And I sure wouldn't attack her for showing up with a baby bump. Everything became so clear, her behavior wasn't my fault. I didn't need her approval anymore. My husband must have seen the shift in me, because he looked at me and said, "I'm so proud of you." But I barely heard him. I was boiling inside. I stormed back to my mom's house, one hand on my belly and the other clenched into a fist. She opened the door, and this time, she tried to hug me. "Honey, you won't regret this," she said. I looked her straight in the eye. "Mom, I'm going to have this baby. My husband and I are going to raise our beautiful daughter and have the family I always dreamed of." The more I spoke, the angrier she got. By the end, her face had gone ghost white. She looked like she might faint. But instead, she snapped, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? You're the reason no one should ever have kids." That was it. I exploded. "You ignored me until I was 14. And even then, I was more of a servant than a daughter." She looked stunned. I kept going. "Remember the first doll I brought home? You cut it to pieces and made me clean it up. That was for your own good," she muttered. "Enough." I cut her off. My husband gently put his hand on my back, and we walked away. The drive home was silent. I felt my baby kick, and I knew she could never meet her grandmother. And more than anything, I felt regret that I let my mom treat me this way for so long, that I spent my life walking on eggshells just to keep her happy. But that regret quickly turned to anger. I needed to protect my baby. My mom wasn't going to let this go. Later that night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my phone. Dozens of texts from my mom, each one more frantic than the last. The most recent one read, "I'm coming over tomorrow. We need to talk about this rationally." My stomach dropped. Just the thought of seeing her again made me feel sick. My husband noticed and took the phone. His face went dark as he scrolled through the messages. "You don't have to see her," he said firmly. "We can change the locks, get cameras, whatever you need." I shook my head. "That won't stop her. You don't know her like I do." And he didn't. My mom had this way of charming people on the outside, while making my life hell behind closed doors. She could be so convincing. She'd turned family against me before, just because I wouldn't do what she wanted. She'd spent decades perfecting her manipulation. I grabbed my phone back and scrolled through my contacts. I found Aunt Susan, my mom's sister. They hadn't spoken in years, and I never knew why. Maybe it was time to find out. "What are you doing?" my husband asked. "Getting answers," I said as I hit the call button. I sat in Aunt Susan's living room, staring at the coffee table, trying to process what she just told me. I'd spent the last hour listening to her explain my mom's childhood. And holy crap, it was awful. So grandma used to lock her in closets? I asked, stunned. Susan nodded. Your grandmother was severely mentally ill. She told your mom children were curses. Your grandfather wasn't much better. I leaned back, mind racing. Susan had agreed to meet us the day after the confrontation. When I called, she'd gone quiet before asking if I was sitting down. Now I knew why. That still doesn't excuse how she treated me, I said, rubbing my belly. Of course not, Susan replied. That's why I cut contact. She refused therapy, refused to even acknowledge the trauma. But maybe understanding it will help you. My husband squeezed my hand. So this is why she hates kids? I asked. Susan nodded. She swore she'd never have children. Then she got pregnant with you. Your dad convinced her to keep you, promising he'd take care of everything. He died in a car crash when I was 4, I whispered. I barely remember him. After that, she just gave up, Susan said. Hired help, pushed you away. I tried to help, but she threatened to get a restraining order. The truth hit me like a brick. No wonder my childhood felt so cold, my mom was broken. And instead of healing, she passed that pain straight onto me. I felt another kick inside me. My daughter would never go through that. Ever. She's still texting, I said. She says she's coming over to fix this. Susan's face hardened. Patricia always thinks she's in control. Don't let her anywhere near you. We left Susan's place with the promise of support and a folder full of old childhood photos she'd saved, the ones my mom had thrown out. On the way home, I scrolled through my mom's increasingly desperate texts. The last one made my blood run cold. If you won't handle this, I will. When we got home, I saw a car parked down the street. That's my mom's car, I told Ben, panic rising. Stay in the car, he said, instantly alert. I'll check the house. I grabbed his arm. We should call the police. Let me make sure first, he said. He unlocked the front door, went in, and came back a moment later with a thumbs up. I exhaled and slowly made my way inside. Everything looked fine, but something felt off. Why is her car here if she's not? I asked. Ben locked the door behind us. Maybe she's walking the neighborhood. I'll check the backyard. I went into the kitchen for water. That's when I saw it. The drawer with our important documents was slightly open. I pulled it open and felt sick. My prenatal vitamins were there, but the seal was broken, and they looked different. Then, I screamed. Something's wrong with my vitamins. He rushed in, took one look at the bottle, and grabbed it. Don't touch them. Did you take any today? No, I forgot this morning, I said, suddenly thankful for my pregnancy brain. Do you think she? The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw my mother smiling like nothing was wrong. Ben pocketed the vitamin bottle and opened the door just a crack, blocking her view of me. Patricia, this isn't a good time, he said firmly. Nonsense, she replied in her fake sweet voice. I brought lunch for my daughter. We need to talk this through rationally. I stepped into view, keeping my distance. Mom, did you break into our house? Her smile faltered for a split second. What? Of course not. The spare key is still where you always kept it, under the turtle figurine. I just wanted to tidy up before you got home. Ben stiffened beside me. We never told you about that key. An awkward silence filled the space. Her expression changed, like a mask slipping off, revealing something much colder underneath. Well, Jennifer must have mentioned it. Get out, I said, suddenly feeling stronger than I had in years. And give me your key. Sweetie, you're being emotional. It's the hormones now, I snapped, surprising even myself. Reluctantly, she reached into her purse and placed a key on the entryway table. I'm just trying to help you. That baby will ruin your life, just like you ruined mine. Ben stepped forward. Leave. Or we're calling the police. After she left, I collapsed on the couch, shaking. What was in those vitamins? Do you think she tampered with them? Ben immediately called his brother, a pharmacist, who told us to bring the pills in right away. I phoned my OB while Ben drove, explaining what happened. She agreed to see me immediately. The next 24 hours were a blur of doctor visits and police reports. The pills had, in fact, been tampered with, switched with something that could have caused a miscarriage. The police took our statements, but said they needed more evidence to arrest her. Their advice? Restraining order, security system, new locks. We did all of that and added cameras the very next day. I spent hours scrolling through pregnancy forums, horrified at what could have happened if I'd taken even one of those pills. Then began checking all of our food and drinks, afraid she might have tampered with something else. That night, as we lay in bed, both of us too anxious to sleep, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom. I was only trying to save you from ruining your life. When will you understand I know what's best? I showed Ben, and he took the phone straight to add it to our police report file. When he came back, his face was grim. Your mom's car just drove by. Slowly. How do you know? I asked, panic rising. He held up his phone, showing footage from our security camera. Her distinct blue sedan was creeping past our house at 1 a.m. We barely slept. The next morning, Ben installed even more locks. I called my boss to request permission to work from home indefinitely. I explained the situation, leaving out the darkest parts. My supervisor, Barbara, was surprisingly understanding. She even offered to adjust my deadlines for maternity leave. Just as I hung up, the doorbell rang again. Through the camera, I saw my cousin Mark, my mom's nephew. Ben opened the door cautiously. "Hey," Mark said awkwardly. "Aunt Patricia asked me to give you this." He handed over an envelope. "She said it's important." "Baby stuff. Did she tell you what's going on?" I asked. Mark shrugged. "Just that you're pregnant and she's excited to be a grandma. Wanted to give you some financial help." I almost laughed. My mom had kept up her perfect act with the rest of the family. "Mark, she tried to hurt my baby." We filed a police report. His eyes widened. "What? No way. Aunt Patricia wouldn't. She pushed me when I told her I was pregnant. Broke into our house. Tampered with my prenatal vitamins." He looked genuinely horrified. "Holy, I had no idea." After he left, promising to keep his distance from her, we carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $20,000 and a note for the abortion and therapy afterward. Last chance. I ripped both up, my hands shaking with rage. "She's not giving up," Ben said, snapping pictures of the check and note before tossing them. "We need to document everything. Build a case." The next week was quiet. Too quiet. My mom's text stopped. Her car didn't show up on our cameras. I almost let myself relax, focused on setting up the nursery and going to birthing classes. But Ben stayed on high alert, checking the security system multiple times a day. Then my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I answered hesitantly. "Hello, is this Jennifer Williams?" "Yes, who's this?" "This is Taylor from Child Protective Services. We've received a concerning report about your living conditions and wanted to schedule a home visit." My blood ran cold. "What report?" "We received anonymous information that you're using illegal substances during your pregnancy and living in unsanitary conditions." I nearly dropped the phone. "That's completely false. My mother's trying to. We're required to investigate all reports, Ms. Williams. We can come tomorrow at 2 p.m. After hanging up, I called our lawyer. He assured us this was likely just a formality and offered to be present for the visit. Still, I spent the rest of the day cleaning our already spotless home, terrified of what might happen if CPS believed her lies. The visit was brief and uneventful. Taylor seemed professional, and it was obvious the report was bogus. She complimented us on how prepared we were for the baby and left within 20 minutes. Our lawyer was satisfied, but warned us it probably wouldn't be her last attempt. He was right. The following week, my boss called an unexpected video meeting. She looked uneasy. "Someone sent an anonymous email to HR, claiming you're stealing company property to sell online." "Barbara, you know that's not true," I said, fighting tears. "Of course I do," she replied gently. "But HR has to investigate. They'll need to check your work laptop." I turned it in, knowing they'd find nothing. Still, I was scared of what my mother might try next. The company cleared me 3 days later, but the damage was done. People gave me weird looks during meetings. I heard whispers, wondering what else I might be hiding. "She's trying to isolate you," Ben said that night, holding me as I cried. "Make you dependent on her." Well, it's working, I admitted. I'm scared to go outside. Scared to talk to anyone. What if she contacts my friends next? My doctor. "We won't let her win," he whispered. I wanted to believe him, but my mother's presence felt everywhere. I jumped at every phone buzz, every unexpected knock. I was 7 months pregnant now, and the stress was only getting worse. Then came the bombshell. Aunt Susan called, her voice tight. "Your mom's telling the family you're mentally unstable. That the pregnancy triggered a breakdown, and you've been making up stories about her." "What?" "And people believe her." "Some do," she admitted. "She's convincing. She showed them texts where you apologize and say you imagined everything." "I never sent those," I protested. "I know. She probably faked them. But Jennifer, she's saying she's going to petition for emergency custody of the baby, claiming you're unfit." I thought I might throw up. Can she do that? Not successfully. You've documented everything, but she could drag it into court. After hanging up, I showed Ben the latest camera footage, my mom driving by again, this time in broad daylight. "I can't take this anymore." I told Ben, "She's everywhere. She's turning everyone against me." "Not everyone," Ben said. "Susan believes you. Your friends believe you. I believe you. And we have proof." The next day, things escalated again. My childhood pediatrician called, sounding concerned. "Jennifer, your mother reached out. She's worried about your mental health during the pregnancy." "Dr. Casey, she's lying," I said, nearly in tears. "She's been harassing us, trying to harm the baby." There was a pause. That's not how she described it. "Jennifer, sometimes pregnancy can trigger mental health issues. Would you consider coming in to talk?" I felt like I'd been slapped. This man had been my doctor for 18 years, and now he was siding with her? "I have a new doctor now," I said coldly and hung up. "She's building a case," I told Ben that night, panic rising. She's reaching out to people from my past to back up her version of events. Ben paced the living room. We need to go on the offensive. We have the tampered vitamins, the security footage, the threatening texts. Let's take it to the police again. This time, the officer seemed more receptive, especially after reviewing the lab results on the vitamins. He took detailed notes and promised to follow up. It wasn't an arrest, but it felt like progress. That small win gave me the courage to do something I'd been thinking about for weeks. I created a private social media post, visible only to close friends and family. I carefully laid out what had been happening with evidence. I explained my mom's history, her hatred of children, and the ways she'd tried to sabotage my pregnancy. The response was overwhelming. Friends offered me places to stay. Family members I hadn't heard from in years reached out to show their support. Even a few of my mom's old friends messaged me, saying they'd seen some troubling behavior but hadn't realized how bad it was. But the most surprising message came from my grandmother's former nurse, Eleanor. Your mother was severely abused, she wrote. But there's something else. Your grandmother didn't just dislike children, she had a hereditary mental illness that worsened during and after pregnancy. Your mother might have the same condition, untreated. I showed the message to Ben. Could that be it? I asked. Some kind of untreated postpartum psychosis? It would explain a lot, he admitted. But it doesn't excuse anything she's done. No, I agreed. But understanding it might help us predict what she'll do next. I asked Eleanor if she'd be willing to talk more. She agreed to meet us for coffee. The day of the meeting, I was nervous leaving the house, constantly checking for my mom's car. But I needed answers. Eleanor was in her 70s, sharp-eyed and direct. Your grandmother had what we now call bipolar disorder with postpartum psychosis, she said. After giving birth, she became convinced children were evil. She refused treatment. And you think my mom has the same illness? I asked. She nodded slowly. The patterns are the same: paranoia about children, emotional manipulation, inability to bond. She'd need a professional diagnosis, of course. But yes, I believe she has it. That actually makes sense, I said. But knowing doesn't change anything. She's still trying to hurt us. Knowledge is power, Eleanor said gently. Understanding what drives her could help you protect yourself. On the way home, Ben kept checking the rearview mirror. I think we should stay with my parents for a bit, he said. At least until the baby comes. They're 3 hours away. Your mom would never expect it. The idea of escaping, even temporarily, was tempting. Let me think about it, I said. I wasn't ready for another big decision just yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying what Eleanor had said. If this illness was hereditary, could I end up like her? Would I suddenly hate my own child after giving birth? The thought paralyzed me. Ben found me crying in the nursery at 3 a.m., sitting in the rocking chair beside the crib. Hey, he whispered, kneeling beside me. What's wrong? What if I'm like her? I whispered. What if it's genetic and I can't stop it? He took my hands firmly. Listen to me. You are not your mother. You've spent your whole life wanting kids, loving kids. And if anything ever does happen, we'll get help. Right away. You're not alone in this. His words helped. But the peace didn't last. The next morning, my phone blew up with messages from friends asking if I was okay. Confused, I checked social media and saw what my mother had posted. She'd made a public post claiming I was experiencing dangerous delusions and asked people to report any sightings of me for my safety. She included childhood photos of me, our home address, and even my car's license plate. She'd basically put a target on my back. That's it, Ben said, seething. We're reporting this. It's harassment and endangerment. And we're going to my parents' house. Tonight. This time, I didn't argue. We packed essentials for the baby and ourselves. Ben contacted the police again. They said they'd send someone to speak with her but couldn't guarantee consequences. Just as we finished packing, I saw a familiar blue sedan turning onto our street. She's coming, I whispered, ducking back inside. Ben locked the front door immediately. Back door, he said, guiding me through the house. We slipped out the back just as her car pulled into the driveway. From the backyard, we could hear her pounding on the front door, calling out in this sickeningly sweet voice. Jennifer, honey, I know you're in there. I just want to talk. Heart pounding, we crept along the fence, cut through the neighbor's yard, and got into our second car we'd hidden on another street. Ben helped me into the passenger seat, and we drove away, quiet and tense. In the rearview mirror, I watched her getting smaller and smaller as she knocked on our empty house. For the first time in weeks, I could finally breathe. We were getting away, even if just for now. My hands rested on my belly, feeling our daughter kick. I made her a silent promise. I will keep you safe. Always. Ben's parents welcomed us without hesitation. They set us up in their finished basement with a separate entrance, added security cameras, and promised to keep our location secret. For the first time since the whole nightmare started, I felt secure. The next week passed quietly. I worked remotely, went on walks with Ben's mom, and finished shopping for the baby. My mom kept texting, messages that flipped between begging and threatening, but from 3 hours away, it felt more distant. Less terrifying. Then came the knock at the basement door. Ben answered. I hung back, nervous. The cameras should have warned us. It was Ben's dad, looking unsettled. There's someone here asking for you, he said quietly. She says she's your aunt. My heart dropped. Susan? He shook his head. She said her name is Linda. I froze. I don't have an Aunt Linda. Ben's whole body tensed. Dad, don't let her in. Call the police. But it was too late. Behind his father, I saw her. My mother. She'd found us. There you are, she said calmly. I've been so worried. I couldn't move. I was literally frozen. Ben stepped between us, his whole body tense. You need to leave, he said flatly. My mom's face twisted into this fake, confused smile. I don't understand why you're being so hostile. I just came to check on my daughter and grandchild. Ben's dad looked completely confused. I'm sorry. She showed me pictures of the two of you. I thought call the police, I said, finally snapping out of it. She's not supposed to be here. My mother rolled her eyes dramatically. Jennifer, stop the theatrics. This is what I've been telling everyone. The pregnancy is making you unstable. I felt this hot surge of rage that pushed aside all my fear. You broke into our house and messed with my prenatal vitamins. You called CPS with fake reports. Ben's dad's face changed instantly. He pulled out his phone and stepped away to call 911. My mom's fake smile dropped. I was trying to help you, she hissed, dropping the act completely. That child will ruin everything we have. We don't have anything, I snapped back. You never did. You're manipulative and dangerous, and you're never going to meet my daughter. Her eyes narrowed, and I swear I saw something snap behind them. Suddenly, she lunged toward me. Ben stepped in front of her, blocking her path, but she was fast and determined. She darted around him, caught him off guard, and grabbed my arm. Her nails dug into my skin. You ungrateful little bitch, she spat. After everything I sacrificed for you, Ben's mom showed up just then, wielding a baseball bat she must have grabbed from somewhere. Let go of her right now, she said, sounding absolutely terrifying despite being the sweet 60-something lady who usually baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. But my mom didn't let go. Instead, she yanked me toward her, and I felt a sharp, deep pain in my stomach. It was real, and it was bad. I gasped and doubled over. Startled, my mom let go, and Ben caught me as I started to sink. Something's wrong, I whispered, panicking. The baby, Ben's dad, still on the phone, shouted, We need an ambulance too. Pregnant woman in distress. My mom just stood there, watching me with a weird mix of horror and triumph on her face. Ben's mom kept the bat aimed at her while Ben helped me onto the couch. The pain was coming in waves now, and I was terrified it was early labor. It's too soon, I kept repeating. She's not ready. She can't come yet. Ben held my hand, looking just as scared. Help is on the way. Just keep breathing. What felt like hours later, but was probably only a few minutes, we heard sirens. My mom seemed to realize the gravity of the situation and made a move toward the door. But Ben's mom blocked her. You're not going anywhere, she said firmly. The police arrived first, right behind the paramedics. Everything turned into a blur, questions, checks, fast decisions. The paramedics quickly decided I had to go to the hospital. As they loaded me into the ambulance, I saw the cops cuffing my mom while she screamed about how I was lying and crazy. The hospital trip is mostly a blur. I remember doctors rushing around, the ultrasound showing my daughter's heartbeat, thank God, and a diagnosis, partial placental abruption. Not the worst case, but still dangerous. They kept me in the hospital, gave me medications to stop labor, and monitored the baby constantly. Ben never left. He slept in that awful hospital chair 3 nights in a row. His parents brought food and clean clothes. On the second day, a police officer came to get my statement. She was surprisingly kind. Your mother is being charged with several crimes, she said. Breaking and entering, tampering with medication, assault, violating the restraining order, and potentially endangering your unborn child. I felt numb. I thought I'd feel relieved, but all I could think about was making sure my baby was safe. Will she stay in jail? I asked. The officer paused. For now. But be ready, she could make bail. We'll notify you right away if she does. After she left, Ben squeezed my hand. We'll take it one step at a time. I was discharged 4 days later with strict bed rest orders until my due date. No work, no stress, minimal movement. Ben's parents insisted we stay with them so they could help out. Honestly, I was grateful. Their house felt safe in a way ours didn't anymore. A week later, Aunt Susan came to visit. She brought a care package and looked heartbroken when she saw me. I'm so sorry, she said, hugging me gently. I should have warned you. I should have done more. You tried, I told her. You were the only one who ever did. She also brought news. The judge had denied my mom's bail. She was considered a flight risk and a danger, so she'd stay in custody until trial, which was scheduled for after my due date. Susan added, the prosecutor wants to know if you'd be open to a psychiatric evaluation. They think it might explain her behavior, though it won't excuse it. I thought about what Ellen had said about mental illness running in families. Yeah, I said. I want to know if she has what my grandmother had. The next few weeks passed in a kind of limbo. I followed the doctor's orders, stayed in bed, and tried not to stress. Ben worked from home to be with me. His parents brought books, helped with meals, and kept me company. My boss, Barbara, was understanding about my leave. My coworkers sent a huge care package. Friends visited when I felt up to it. For the first time in my life, I felt truly supported by people who genuinely cared. At 38 weeks, 2 weeks before my due date, I went into labor naturally. It was long and painful, but everything went well. After 19 hours, our daughter arrived, perfectly healthy and screaming her lungs out. We named her Lily, after Ben's grandmother. Holding her for the first time, I searched myself for any trace of the illness that had plagued my mom and grandmother. All I felt was love. I couldn't imagine ever hurting this tiny person or seeing her as a burden. Maybe the illness would never touch me. Or maybe, unlike my mom, I'd get help if it ever did. 3 days later, while we were still in the hospital, a social worker named Janet came by. She was kind but serious. "I understand your mother is in custody," she said. "But she's filed for grandparental rights." I nearly choked. "She what?" "It's standard procedure to investigate any such claims," she explained. "But given the circumstances and criminal charges, her petition will almost certainly be denied." She interviewed us briefly, took some notes, and promised to recommend immediate dismissal of the claim. Before leaving, she paused. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "in 20 years of doing this job, I've never seen a clearer case for denying visitation." A month after we brought Lily home, still staying with Ben's parents, we got 2 big updates. First, the psych evaluation confirmed my mom had bipolar disorder with delusional features, similar to my grandmother. Second, she accepted a plea, 2 years in a psychiatric facility, followed by 3 years of probation, with no contact allowed. I sat on the porch swing, Lily asleep on my chest, trying to make sense of my emotions, relief, sadness for the mom I never really had, and worry about the future. Ben joined me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "Penny, for your thoughts?" "I was just thinking about cycles," I said. "My grandmother hurt my mom. My mom hurt me. I was so scared I'd hurt Lily." "But you didn't," he said. "You broke the cycle." I looked down at Lily. "Yeah, I did." That weekend, we finally went back to our house. Ben's dad had hired professionals to install a serious security system, cameras, motion sensors, reinforced locks. It felt strange being back, but also right. While unpacking, I found a folder Aunt Susan had given me, full of old childhood photos. I sat on the nursery floor flipping through them. In one, I was about 3, pushing a doll in a toy stroller. My mom wasn't in any of the pictures, of course. I looked over at Lily sleeping in her crib. "I promise to be in your pictures," I whispered. Over the next few months, we found a new rhythm. I returned to work part-time. Ben's parents visited weekly. Aunt Susan became a regular in our lives, thrilled to be a great aunt. The court formally denied my mom's petition, citing clear and convincing evidence of potential harm. On Lily's first birthday, we threw a small party with just family and close friends. As I watched her smash cake with chubby hands and laugh hysterically, I felt more at peace than I ever had. The doorbell rang and I tensed, old habit, but it was just Ellen, the nurse who had helped us understand our family history. She'd become something of a mentor. "How are you feeling?" she asked, hugging me. "Good," I said. "Really good." She smiled. Breaking the cycle isn't just avoiding mistakes. It's building something better in their place. I looked around, Ben twirling Lily around while she giggled, Susan snapping pictures, Ben's parents setting out more food. "I think we're doing okay on that front," I said. That night, after Lily was asleep and the guests were gone, Ben and I sat on the couch with a glass of wine. "I've been thinking," I said carefully. "Maybe in a year or so, we could try for another baby." He looked surprised. "Really? After everything?" I nodded. "I always wanted a big family. I'm not letting fear take that from me." He smiled and kissed me. "Whatever you want. I'm with you all the way." I leaned into him, thinking about how far we'd come. My mom would still be in treatment for another year and probation after that. We'd cross that bridge when we got there. But right now, we were safe. We were happy. And most importantly, we'd broken the cycle. I didn't need my mother to feel whole. I had built my own family, created my own safety. And Lily would grow up surrounded by love, never once doubting that she was wanted and deeply cherished.